Hi there. Welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. In this podcast, I interview successful business leaders and industry experts to help you grow your business. In this episode, I had a very interesting discussion with Steve Foran. Steve is a believer in grateful leadership. He's a speaker and he's also a chair at MacKay CEO Forum. He's an electrical engineer with an MBA. In his research, he hosted many conversations and events in his community and discovered the existence of gratitude gap at a workplace. From this discovery, he started his company Gratitude at Work, and he's also an author of his new book Surviving to Thriving: The 10 Laws of Grateful Leadership. In 2017, he was awarded the Gold Standard of Professional Speaking CSP Award. In 2019, he was the inaugural winner of Canada as a CEO Trusted Advisor Award program. During our discussion, Steve talks about importance of gratitude to help us lead happier, more energetic lives and organizations. He outlined that practicing gratitude is not only a feel-good exercise, but also compelling potential business benefits for organizations. He also explained step-by-step process to implement effective and healthy gratitude practice at workplace. On his website, you can download practical playbook for gratitude and also daily gratitude list he runs on his website. You can join that daily gratitude list as well. I will include a link to both of those items below this video. During our discussion, Steve had me rethink and reassess the way I approach gratitude on a daily basis and how I compile my list. And I hope he can convince you to do the same. Don't forget to send me your feedback. Until next time, I hope you enjoy this discussion. Hi guys, welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. Today my guest is Steve Foran. Steve, the topic we have to discuss is so important to building culture, building teams. So thank you so much for your time and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Gurmeet. Looking forward to the conversation here with you.
Beautiful. So if you can walk us through what are your version of what do you call gratitude at work or gratitude leadership? What do you mean by gratitude?
Well, gratitude is exactly what it is. There's nothing more complex than that. But I've been doing this for 17 years, Gurmeet, and when people ask me, "What do you do?" my answer has changed.
Okay.
I remember early on, probably I was 3 or 4 years into this, and like in 2007, 2008, 2009, gratitude really wasn't the thing that it is today. And I was with my wife. We were driving across town, pulled into a parking lot, and as I opened my car door, the guy next to me had just pulled in. He opened his car door. It turned out it was someone I used to work with, another engineer. Like, I'm an engineer, right? This guy's an engineer. And he looks at me and says, "Oh, Steve, haven't seen you in a while. What do you do?" And I looked at him and I said, "I speak on gratitude." And he just, "That's nice." He kind of backed off and looked at, if you're watching the video, I got this look.
Yeah.
And the conversation ended. When I used to say that, sometimes I would get that reaction. Sometimes people would lean in. So I get in the car, and my wife, who is sitting next to me, her head just drops, and she says, "You got to start saying something else." And I said to her, because I'd been working on what am I going to say? And I said, "Hon, how about this? You know how complacency and entitlement can just creep into a culture and take over? I work with organizations that want to do something about it. And gratitude just happens to be the tool that we use, Gurmeet. And it's just a very simple tool. We don't tell anyone they need to be grateful, but just really encourage that adoption of a gratitude practice in our lives, because it is a game changer." So I learned it the hard way in terms of what do you do. Is that helpful?
Yeah. So what is this? Let's talk about the changes. So what are some of the changes you see the companies who do practice gratitude from leadership to the ground level? So what are some of those the changes you see that where they think, okay, we made a big difference in people's lives?
Yeah, what you see is, and this is coming from clients of mine, is just they say folks seem a lot more calm. They don't get as rattled as easy. I mean, we still get rattled. We're humans, right?
Yeah.
We're able to put things in perspective much more easily, Steve, because we used to just focus on all the negative things that are going on, whether clients canceling or delaying, people not showing up, or people just leaving for looking for another, a little bit more income, whether it's per hour or per year. These things don't seem to phase us the way they used to, because we're able to tap into the other resources that we have. People just bring a more calm, collected approach. Some of the research out there has it that, people are more productive. They go the extra mile. So these are things that are harder to quantify in a business, to attribute them just to one or a series of, I'll say, interventions or trainings that you do over a while, because so many other things are happening in the business. But yeah, you just see that people are happier. People are genuinely happier dealing with customers and dealing with colleagues.
Yeah, definitely. When people are happier, they're gonna produce more and they're gonna move company much forward. So definitely it kind of, but it all starts from a leadership, right? So how does that leadership looks at it? What are your experience been with the business leaders? They had a different perspective. You definitely got into it. What do you think that what they have to change first? Is that behavior change first, or is it a mindset change, or what do they have the first thing where they have to start from?
It is both of those things, but behavior change, and that gratitude really is about a mindset in how you see the world. And leadership, I believe, is about influence, right? Influencing others. But before you influence anyone else, the first person you influence, who is it?
The person you're looking at.
It's yourself.
Yeah.
And the characteristic or the trait that has the greatest impact on how you influence yourself is what you just said, your mindset. And so gratitude is a calibrator of mindsets. And so really it begins with a mindset of, if you think of positivity or optimism and pessimism, those are mindsets. And it's just really how you make sense of the world. So really we teach people, use gratitude, a practice, establish a daily practice around gratitude. That changes mindset, right? Mindset changes how you make sense of things, how you react, how you feel, which ultimately results in behavior change. The behavior change that I encourage and nurture is around building a gratitude habit, right? And, we get people I don't teach people how to deal with difficult customers, how to have greater sense of purpose in their life. I teach them how to have a gratitude habit. And then when I ask them questions about what is your confidence in dealing with difficult customers, and we've done no training on that whatsoever, 25% increase in self-confidence in dealing with difficult customers. Why is that? Mindset, right?
So it changes the mindset of what you're saying. But I think one other, you mentioned very important point, Steve, the practicing, because it's not, feeling gratitude or be grateful one day, it's not going to change any behavior, but consistently practicing that over time is going to change that. So how do you practice that? Do you just simply look at a day before or a week before and simply just find out what you're grateful for? Or is it a different way of looking at it? How do you put that in consistently in a practice?
It is. I call it a habitual ritual. Like we need habitual rituals, right?
So habitual ritual, okay.
Habitual ritual. This is a habit that we want to make it a ritual. Ritual, what does a ritual do? Kind of makes it a bit sacred. It's very special, right? So I believe this is a habitual ritual. And it's similar to if you want to get in shape, whether you're running or you want to go to the gym or whatever, or you want to say get really good at a sport, whether it's soccer or golf, or you don't play it once and think you're an expert. That doesn't do you. We need to come back to the basics every single day. So gratitude is no different. Just like you said, we need to, what are the things that we can do on a daily basis? Two habits that I consider just key to the habitual ritual is, number one, every day, make a list of what you're grateful for. And if you miss a day, don't worry about it. And I typically do that at night. I make my gratitude list at night. And secondly, number two, consume a steady diet of other people's gratitudes. And what I mean by that, read or listen to what other people are grateful for, right? Listen to what others are grateful for, because, Gurmeet, and for you, watching, listening, you probably get a sense that I'm a pretty positive person.
Yep.
But life happens. I wish could say that I'm always positive and all these things happen. And to the days that even I don't feel grateful, when I read or listen to what other people are grateful for, it almost like it snaps me out of it. You know what I mean? It's like having a personal trainer there always by your side to be able to support me in my gratitude habit. So, and I tripped into that by accident, that, and I teach that. That's a game changer. One, make a list of what you're grateful for. Two, read or listen to what others are grateful for. And I typically start my day by reading other people's gratitudes.
Mm-hmm. And these list of items, Steve, you mentioned, these has to be big items, or these are just small items. And how do you see, define that list?
It could be the fall foliage, right? Just the beauty, like before we turned record on, you just talked about the beauty of the fall and the colors, and right. So it could be something as simple as that, which you said small things, but big things, right? They're small things, but they're big things. Yeah. It could be a person in your life that is really special to you. It could be a challenge that you're going through, that you're learning something about yourself you didn't realize that you had within you. So they could be big, they could be small, they could be the same thing a couple days in a row. They could be different things about something, whatever is happening in somebody in your life today. And then when you read what other people are grateful for, that helps me keep it fresh too, because other people are coming up with ideas and something happens in someone else's life. And it reminds me, oh, I've got that in my life. Let me think about that a little more. Yeah.
Very interesting. So, as a leaders, we going through the list and building our own list and having a discipline around it, being grateful is one thing. But when you take that to try to teach your team the same kind of gratitude, that's where a lot of challenges, I think it comes, that's where we deal with a lot of challenges, right? So how do you go about it, and how do you deal with those challenges? Not everybody's going to run with your approach to gratitude. So how do you train your team, and how do you get that into practice?
Yeah, that's really good. So, leadership, if you think of leadership, is, in my mind, irrespective of position, right? It is, because leadership is about influence and how we influence others, not position in an organization. But if we do talk about organizational hierarchy and structure and leadership, and so the senior leadership, those at the top of the organization, when we're doing training or a session with them, I just ask them, resist the temptation to think Jerry from purchasing should be here. No. Don't worry about Jerry from purchasing. We'll get to Jerry. This is for you. Like, take it for yourself. Like every leader, that's the only thing that you and I can control as humans. As leaders, truly, we can control ourselves. And then get the senior leadership to model that behavior. And as you go through an organization, you're absolutely right. Not everyone is going to agree with what I'm teaching or saying, and they're going to sit like this. And it's like that's just part of leadership in an organization, right? And so what we want to do is just create a culture where if someone we don't want to force, because you cannot force this. You invite people into it, allow them to experience it for themselves. And then you create a culture where it's just like building a safety culture. If someone's going to stand out and not want to be part of a safety culture, it's going to be harder to not behave safely than it is to behave safely. And that person is either going to opt out themselves, or they're going to they're going to be let go because they're not abiding. So gratitude's no different. Is that, we even know from the research that people who, this isn't for me, the rub off effect from everyone else in the office, they report higher levels of life satisfaction when other people are grateful. So it just one step at a time, maintaining that practice, and then incorporating some simple activities into how you operate your business to so that there's this almost like a constant exposure to this whole idea of gratitude and gratefulness, that not that it's an extra thing that you'll want to do, but just integrate it into how you run your business the same way you would with quality or safety.
Very interesting. So what do you think, Steve, happens behind, in a very, very psychological level when you've been grateful? Does that change the energy around people, or what does it just creates an environment? What does it happen on a psychological level that it has so much impact on a people around you, or on a company itself?
It actually, like the practice of gratitude, it is like, you can think of it as like you're building a muscle, a gratitude muscle. And the muscle is in your brain. And what you're doing is you're creating new connections in your brain that help your brain focus on the good and to be able to see the good in the world that's around you. So that the more you practice this, the better you actually get at it. And so your brain becomes more predisposed to being able to be grateful and to be good, because there's a part of our brains, the ancient part of our brains, the reptilian part of our brain, is hyper focused on negativity, on any threat to you, and it's our survival mechanism, and it triggers us. So if something happens, because thousands and thousands of years ago, if you were not hyper focused on negative, on the threats, you were lunch, right? So you so that's always happening. Like, we have not evolved that out of our human condition yet. So that is always at work. So when you get a call or a text from a client that says, I need to talk to you right away, what is the first thing that you're thinking? Right? That's that survival. And what happens is when you go into that survival mode, you lose the higher order, the executive function in your brain. It effectively shuts off. So you think of the psychological impact of that. That controls critical thinking, decision-making, creativity, your ability to moderate your behaviors and emotions so you can be calm, collected, right? Gratitude helps keep that at bay. And it helps us be more aware of, oh my goodness, I just got triggered. And when I get triggered like that, I respond the exact same way physiologically as if a tiger was staring me face to face, and my body is prepared for the same way. So gratitude, it does do a psychological change in how we operate. And on a long-term basis, which is, I think, where you were getting with this, is if you practice this on a long-term basis, you will be less susceptible to, I don't know, you'll be less getting hooked and triggered, and more biased. And it doesn't mean you ignore the problems or challenges either, Gurmeet, right? Because that's what some people will say, oh, does this mean you just pretend everything's good? No. But when there are challenges, you want to be in a positive mindset to be able to deal with them, right?
Yeah, but that's when you have a problem in front of you, Steve, that's when you need that critical thinking, all that analytical thinking and clarity and all that stuff, right? So if you're going to shut that down with the fear, then how are you going to deal with the problem? But if you have a gratitude, as you mentioned, that if you have all that creativity, analytical skills, everything is going, and you've dealing with the problem from a gratitude, mindset or behavior, you're going to deal with the problem much better than you would deal otherwise.
I believe so. You just connected the dots there. Like, that is the connecting of the dots. Like, when that happens, like, you think about it. Like,
Hmm.
the onset of the pandemic, like how many business owners and leaders were thinking, oh my goodness, we didn't prepare for this. What does this mean? Like, this is when we need to be able to tap into those resources more than ever. And it doesn't mean that we fall out of it and go down, but it could be like, I got to get up. I'm going to take a walk around, do some deep breathing. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to think, what am I grateful for here in this moment? Right.
Yeah.
And it just totally recalibrates. It's like turning when your computer gets slow and we got to do a reboot or a reset. Oh, it's working fast again. Right.
Yeah.
It's the exact same with our brains. Just give it a reset. Gratitude's a tool that helps do that. So yeah, really good.
Yeah. And do you find that when you have that kind of gratitude behaviors or mindset of working in a company, does that also impact your customers or vendors or people you're interacting with on a daily basis? Because your team's going to interact with a lot of people on a daily basis, especially if you're running a service company. You got to service your client, you got to talk to a lot of people. And if your staff has that kind of an energy going or mindset going, they're definitely going to impact your customers or your vendors who they're interacting with on a daily basis.
Every single person that you interact with on a daily basis gets that, feels that, they're gonna feel that. And what gratitude does, it takes it a step further. It helps people see the interconnection with customers, with vendors, with other departments, right? Like think of a salesperson who's out there meeting with customers. I encourage salespeople, before a meeting, make a list of 3 things you're grateful for about this upcoming meeting. And here's the catch: none of these things that you list can be benefits to you. Like, I'm grateful I could get this new deal. No,
Yeah.
that doesn't count. None of
Yeah.
them can. And they'll look at me and go, what do you mean? And then it'll start coming to them. I'm grateful this prospect is giving me their time.
Yeah.
Right. I'm grateful that the marketing team back at the office prepared me and has all these materials. I'm grateful that my company, I mean, they're entrusting me with their reputation.
Yeah.
And when you go into a prospect or something, instead of it being me focused, we become more other focused. And so not only does the happiness and this, it really changes how people see the relationships and their own success
Mm-hmm.
on the sacrifices and the support of others. And I don't become, oh, I did this all myself.
Yeah.
I've realized I'm so connected to so many other people. And so it is a game changer, Gurmeet. It really is.
Very interesting. Yeah, it puts you in a place where you want to be service to other humans instead of trying to look for small gains, right? You simply look at how could be a service to other people. You're coming from that different angle, right? So very
It does.
interesting. Very interesting. Let's talk about your journey. How do you get so done a gratitude? How talk about your journey because you came from logical background, engineering. So what changed?
Yeah, I don't think anything changed. So I used to be an electrical engineer. Well, I'm still an electrical engineer. I used to engineer electrical energy.
Okay.
Now I engineer the energy of gratitude.
Beautiful.
And so I do bring a logical approach to the work that I do. But, 20 years ago or so, I just had this aha moment, this realization my life was handed to me on a silver platter. And no catastrophic events, no traveling and just seeing something that made me realize this. It was a bit of a gradual realization, but then also, my kids they were in high school. Their first jobs were in coffee shops. And Nick, he was 15 or 16, minimum wage,
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 hours a week, involved in all kinds of activities and stuff. Within 4 months of starting his job, his bank account was greater than half of the world's population.
Wow.
That's what I said. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at him thinking, you didn't do this. And I didn't say that out loud.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I'm thinking. And it was kind of like for me, and it was really, it made me reflect on my own life. And it was like, oh my goodness, Steve, yeah, you had to work hard. You had to be you put up with failures, but you know what? Look at all the good fortune you've had. And it just made this incredible sense of gratitude into my head and my heart. And I was in grad school. So I said, I'm going to do my research on this. And that was back in 2004. And so I
Yeah.
did my research. And when I finished, I looked at my wife. I said, hun, I got to start doing this. And I didn't quite know what this was in 2006.
Wow.
And from the story I told you earlier about driving across town, I mean, it certainly evolved, but the basic premise of gratitude has not changed. And at the time, after I did my research, I think I would have told you, if we had this conversation back when I first graduated, I think I would have probably, I might not have said it, but I would have come across as knowing everything there is to know about gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am 17 years later, and I can tell you for certain there is so much more I don't know about gratitude than there
Yeah.
is that I do. There's so much more for us to learn and how it all connects together, because we really don't understand all that yet. But that's how it started, Gurmeet. And then I was working. I looked at my wife. I said, hun, I think I got to leave my job. And she supported me through this. And then I just started with my network and going from there.
Very interesting. So, what are your thoughts for last few years, Steve? Did that become a little bit hard for people to, when especially business owners who manage a team, you working from home? Does that become a little bit challenge to practice on an ongoing basis gratitude and coaching your teams and helping people to stay on a course all the time? So, was there more challenges you noticed for last few years, or people were able to get through it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And you would see it in your work and the clients that you serve. So, I mean, it has been more challenging. The clients that I work with, they're telling me people are feeling and they need some tools to care for themselves, to be able to have greater hope, looking for certainty that nobody can give them. We can only give ourselves this certainty and find it through hope, to build resilience, to help with mental wellness and mental health. Not that gratitude isn't I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I'm not saying this is a tool, but it is a tool that we can use to help support our mental well-being. And
Mm-hmm.
so, because being isolated and disconnected, it has put a stress on people, and the overlap between work and home and how these things happen and not being as connected with others, it definitely has made it more difficult. But it is interesting, some of the early research into COVID, they were also asking questions about people's level of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
So at a time when people were experiencing levels of stress and anxiety that they have never experienced in their life before. So people are at the highest levels reporting the highest levels of stress and anxiety. So the largest percentage of our populations are reporting the highest levels of stress and anxiety that they've ever experienced in their life. And at the same time, reporting they're more grateful, right?
Yeah.
I remember the first few months of being locked in and just feeling how fortunate I was to have a family.
Yeah.
And to be able to, like, big things, little things, as you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But it has been challenging because not everyone lives in a family situation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You got people here that are, some folks that are listening or watching, some are alone,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so
and it creates it definitely, and it gives you a little bit time to think about a lot of items, right? Because you have a lot of time on your hand. I guess when you have a time on your hand, definitely, your brain goes in a different gear and you're thinking. But if you replace that with the gratitude, you can at least control that thought process and keep that anxiety a little bit less, right?
Yeah. It really does. I mean, can I turn the tables and ask you a question?
Sure, sure.
Because some of your questions are just real. Do you have a gratitude practice? And whether it's like what I described as the habitual ritual, but how do you keep your mindset in a positive frame of mind?
So gratitude is a big part of what I do. I think that's the reason we've been talking about a lot about this stuff, right? So I learned in a business, Steve, early on that this is a key for me, to keep the business going. My business has a lot of stress, especially technology changes, business changes all the time. It's a service business. You got to maintain different level of services. Sales team we run, all of those areas have a high impact on over the people. And gratitude is something grounds me every time I need it. So the way, to answer your question, how do I keep myself? I keep actually this journal right in front of me. So this stays with me all day. So I write first thing in the morning. What I do is I write my goals and I write my gratitude. What I'm grateful for. Two things I write every morning, and I write end of the day as well. But in between the days, every time I am against any big problems, before I get into problem, how I'm going to solve the problem, I will go through my list of gratitude or my goals again. If me focus me, grounds me again, I can solve the problem much better that way. Keeps the energies controlled a little bit. So I use that all the time. I've been using for the last 6-7 years, but that's been key for my business, and my wife, family knows that as well. So I do a lot of that stuff. So, there's no day, weekends, weekdays. I go through this every single day. And I think that's what's been keeping me focused on our goals, what I want to do in a business and move forward. And I think my team sees that as well. Back to what we're talking about, the leadership. They know that. Every meeting, there's a part of the end of the meeting is looking into those items. Hey, listen, what are we grateful for? What do we need to do next? So every meeting ends with that one or 2 minutes of that, just a review of the list and just go. So, definitely it's been a big part of my business. And I think, I'm probably one of the example that you see that by being, grateful of items that, the one way I've looked at the list is my items not usually a big, very, very small items on my being grateful list, very, very tiny, I enjoy coffee with my wife in the morning. That's item on my list. I was able to pick up my kids today, I'm grateful for where I'm at and the goals. I haven't met my goals, but whatever state I'm right now, I'm grateful for that being in that state, right? So it's small items, but I think they make a big difference in your life.
They absolutely do. And you've highlighted a couple things, around your own personal experience and how, walking into a challenge, I'm just going to step back, look at what I've already written, right? And it just like a reset. You said it grounds me. It's like taking a deep breath, because it's kind of like our minds can start spinning out of control. And the practice that you mentioned, your team knows at the end of the meeting, we're going to go around and say something. That is a very good example of how you just hardwire it into how you do business. And it's not it just, that's part of how we do business, and it rubs off on others. So
it takes only 2-3 minutes. It does not take that long a time. It takes 2-3 minutes. Simply end of the meeting. Hey, listen, let's refocus where we're here for. So it just take a couple of minutes, but you can now rewire your team again. Hey, listen, this is what's important. And I think over the time, people see what's important. So they, it naturally. When I started that, I'll ask you a question, how do you drill down on our teams? And, when I started, there was a lot of challenges, it's a little bit awkward, especially when you bring new people into the team. But when you do that for 6-7 months and, people with you for a few years, they realize this, there's no two ways about it. It's going to happen. It becomes so natural for them to do that as well.
It really does. And so, back to that question you had, but by implementing some simple practices into your organization, some clients they start their meetings with their gratitudes. Some they've got a wall up where they post stuff. And so for people, it can be a little, okay, why are we doing this? And why don't we just get right down to business? And especially we got a really difficult issue. If you've got a really difficult issue you got to talk about in a meeting, even more important to kind of set ourselves, do a reset to be able to do that. So good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. What I find is we are looked at as a leader. We solve with a lot of technology problems all the time. See, when people call us, they have a big problem in their business that they're trying to solve. Right. Now, if we're not grounded level-headed and settle with our own attitude, and we get also get a little nervous and anxious when the client calls. I mean, you just dropping yourself to their level because they're already dealing with the anxiety. They already have a stress that the problem happens in the business. You need to come from a place where you can handle the problem. You can come confident, and you can solve the problem much easier that way. So you can't be just bringing your energy up. So that gratitude practicing that's what does the team. So it grounds everybody in my team are simply saying, yeah, people have a problem, but you got to come up with a different angle. Simply look at, hey, it's not that big a deal. Let me handle it for you. So when you come from that angle, I think it takes a lot of stress off the positions.
You absolutely do. And if can I go back to some of the questions we talked about, mindset and stuff?
Yeah.
So there's a hierarchy of, I call it the hierarchy of leadership, which is really a hierarchy of mindsets. And the lowest mindset level is surviving. And if you're watching this, you'll see me. The highest level is thriving. And in between, there's a couple levels. But just kind of think of surviving to thriving. Surviving, life is a battleground. Thriving, life is a playground. That's how you would characterize it.
Got it. Okay.
And so you think if your client is coming and things are just spinning and they feel like if life is a battleground and you're here at life is a playground, my belief is those you lead or those you influence will be at or below your level of leadership, your mindset. So you cannot influence somebody in a positive direction if you're operating at a level below that. If you're below them, you're not going to operate you're not going to influence them in a positive direction. We need to be, so if you want your staff, your vendors, your colleagues to be operating at this life is a playground level, that's where you and I need to be operating on a daily basis. And, your example of, a client calls you with an issue that is significantly impacting their business, very easy to get thinking, okay, what's going to happen? We need to get into survival mode. You're right. The calm, where you have access to creativity, decision-making, and all the tools you need to solve it. It is, and it's also very reassuring too, isn't it? When someone's talking in a calm, collected, we've got an approach to solve this. So it's really important.
Yeah, no, it changes when you start doing that. Definitely changes a perspective on many different things, right? Especially in a service business, and I would recommend all business leaders who are in a service business to definitely, have a conversation with you, because that will change their perspective how they approach service. Because anybody who calls you on a service, they're not calling you just to simply say hello. They're calling you because they want to solve some business problem in their site. Right? When they're calling you with a problem, you want to find a different way of looking at it. You need to show a little leadership and come from the playground mindset, what you just mentioned. And definitely you can solve problem much better that way than you would solve otherwise.
You absolutely do. What else are you going to do?
Yeah. So how do you help our business leaders, Steve? You talk to, you've been working with the business leaders. So where do they start if somebody wants to, take a, go on a journey and start incorporating, gratitude? What do you recommend? Where do they start, and how do you come in a picture and help them?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things you could do. This is something, it's so simple. If you want to do it yourself, you can. I've got a white paper on my website. It's a playbook for how to implement gratitude at work. If you want me to help you with it, I can do that as well. Okay. So it really begins with an assessment of, where are we today? And then we equip the top team, it's a three-step process. Equip the top team, senior leadership, equip your team, the rest of the organization. And the third step is make it genuine. Like, how do we do this in our organization? Because what works, like sharing gratitudes or something, whatever it is, like, in my white paper in the playbook, it'll say, start your meetings with gratitude. Well, for you, you've done a little bit of a twist on that. We're going to do it at the end of our meeting, and we're going to also talk about where we're going with it. So that is about making it genuine. And so really that's our 3-step process, is just equip your team with the tools and the knowledge to do this, and then make it genuine. So I'm happy to help you with this, do it. But you know what? If you want to do it on your own, we just want this tool of gratitude is so powerful. I just want to make it available to as many people as possible. So there's a resources page on our website, and I can share that with you, Gurmeet, so that folks can have it.
We'll put a link below the video as well. People can easily access that tool, and they can use that as well.
It's freebie. You don't even have to give me an email address to read it. If you want to download it, it will cost you your email, but I just want the tools out there so that people can use them.
So what do you see the business leaders, they practice, they use the tool for a short time and they get better at it, then they go train the team, or you recommend everybody start at the same time and they just share their whatever they're going through their journey together?
Every organization is unique, right? So, I've got organizations say, let's start with our top team. Last week, I was with a team that said, we're going to do our top team, and they're going to be taking it from there. I know, just based on the organization, the resources, the ability to take it further. I was with the team 3 weeks ago, and it's like, Steve, we want you to come in instead of face-to-face. Like, I did their entire sales team. We were all face-to-face. Step 2 with them, it'll be online. So we need our branch people to be able to tap into this. Can you help us with that step so they can experience and know it, so we can translate that? So each organization has their own formula, and like you, I'm a service business, and not like I've got this 3-step process.
Yeah,
but we got to customize it to make it work for each individual client.
I see. Is there a way to, Steve, go back in a company and over the time that, see the effectiveness of it after 6 months, a year? Like, do you go and simply say, listen, let's take a look where we started and where we are at the moment and what we need to do? Do we need to tweak something, or what do we need to get better at?
Yeah, there's a couple clients that I've been working with over a number of years that are just continuously tweaking. Like, we've had changes in our leadership team. Can you come in and just give us a, just almost like a refresh or a reboot with this? Remind us some of the things that we know, but we forgot. And because this goal of always trying to have a people first, results oriented, this isn't about people and results as separate. How can these things come together? But it does have to be rooted. We haven't talked about this yet.
Okay.
It does. If you're going to do this, you have, how do I say this in a way that doesn't come across?
No worries.
You have to do this because you genuinely care for your people. If you're only doing it for yourself to increase the bottom line or whatever the case is, it ain't going to work, because people are going to feel like they're being used, right? Like, you genuinely need to care for your people. That'll be a deal breaker for you. I mean, because if you try it, and not that you don't care for your people, right?
Yeah.
Right. But that is critical through this whole process. And I don't run across too many leaders that don't care for their people.
Yeah, my take on that, Steve, if I can give you my perspective on that, is when you practice something ongoing basis, it kind of becomes your personality. It becomes who you are over the time, right? And learning for yourself and practice is a one skill set. But when you start teaching it, it becomes even deeper in your mindset that, hey, listen, this is who you become, what you teach on an ongoing basis, right? Yeah. So it gets more grounded. So when you go through the journey, when I went through the whole journey, first me learning it and just practicing on myself all the time, definitely, I know it. I know what it's changing, it's making in me, and it's becoming my habit all the time. and it's becoming part of what I do on a daily basis, right? It becoming my mindset. But over the time, I've been training people and teaching people. Now it just becomes who you are eventually, right? So it comes so genuine, so natural over the time that it just becomes your second nature.
It does. Well, so well said. And it does. And I know you care for your people, right? And so for
I don't
you,
think you can practice gratitude without caring for your people. I think they both have a, it's different other side of the token, right? So you can have a gratitude mindset without caring. I think they both kind of, combination of both
they
two.
do. They absolutely do.
Yeah.
And
Very interesting.
you mentioned something earlier
Sure.
that I'd like just your audience to make sure they caught on, because I don't know if they heard you say this, but you said I look at my goals and I'm grateful for my goals, and even if I haven't hit my goal, I'm grateful for the progress that I'm making towards it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very, very significant. So for you listening, this is key, because I remember once someone asked me at a session I did, and they said, well, if I let my people know I'm grateful for them, I'm not sure they're going to try hard. If we, and if we instill this in their mindsets that, to bring gratitude to work. And he said to me, what do you have to say to that? Nothing came out. I'm in front of an audience of 50 people, all business owners. All of them could hire me. And I didn't know what, like my mind went blank. And, you're driving home, and you ever have to drive home after a conversation and the words come to your mind like, oh my, why didn't I say this? Well, there's research out there that demonstrates that people who are grateful are more likely to hit important life goals. And what the researchers found is that when they fall short on their goals, they do exactly what you said. They become grateful for the progress for their goals, their progress to date, and in fact, they double down, and they're more likely to achieve them because of that, because of this practice on focusing on where they've been, not on what they haven't done, but it just continues to motivate them to drive forward. And so that's a really, really important practice that you're making, and important to teach your people as well, too.
I read a book. I forgot the name of the book. Steve, Grant Cardone is one of the guy I follow a lot. I spend a lot of time on his training, and I spend a lot of time on his books. So I read a lot of books. So one of the item I see, I don't know if whether you believe in a God or you believe in energy or whatever you believe in. If you run a list of being grateful every day, that nature or universe just gives you more reason to be grateful for. So it's simply just your gratitude list just get bigger and bigger. If you focus on a negativity, definitely that item is going to multiply. Yeah. But if you simply focus on a list of items that you're grateful for, universe just going to give you more reason to be grateful next day, every day, and then that's how you multiply your goals, and you eventually get to your goals and have a life you want. But that's what I believe in, simply that if you keep making a list of what you're grateful for, you're just going to find more reason to be grateful every single day, and that just list gonna get bigger and bigger.
It is. I mean, you're training your brain. What do you want to focus on? What are you going to feed what feeds your energy and your soul? It's like when the last time you bought a new car or truck, whatever it was, all of a sudden you start seeing these things everywhere, this vehicle type or the brand. You just do you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Gratitude's the same. How you notice that, the same mechanism that you seem to notice, whether it's a car or a computer, whatever it is that you just trained your brain to notice these things. So when you train your brain to notice the good, because that's what gratitude is being able to notice the good around you, you start multiplying that. And over time, it really increases. And not everyone increases at the same rate, right? But I have not had anyone in thousands and thousands of people who have done this and in 30 days haven't noticed a difference. Some people notice a difference in as short as a week. Some people it might take you a month, but whatever it is, just I guarantee you, you will see a difference by incorporating a habitual ritual into your day. And it won't take you 5 minutes either, right? I mean, you can take longer if you want, but 5 minutes is all it takes.
Yeah. No, it doesn't take that long. Especially when you do it over the time, it's a very quick list. It takes 2 minutes to just write down. I write in the morning. It takes me not more than a minute and a half, and I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It really is. Yeah. Very, very nice.
Hey, I want to acknowledge your time. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I definitely learned so much. You give me different perspective on many different things, especially on a gratitude. I learned so much. I will definitely encourage business leaders to reach out to you for conversation. I'm going to include a link to your contact information below the video. And I will encourage business leaders who are watching or listening, reach out to you for conversation. As I learned so much, they will definitely learn so much as well. And use your help, wherever they can use your help, Steve. Any word of wisdom, anything you want to leave for business leaders who are looking to start incorporating some of this gratitude in their business strategy or business process ongoing basis, Steve? Any thoughts for business leaders?
Yeah, I mean, two things. One, I mentioned it earlier, the playbook for gratitude at work is free on my website. There are 15 tactics that you can implement. And in it, I share all my underlying philosophies to how this works and why to do it that way. So it's yours as a gift. So that's number one. It's on the resources page of our website at gratitudeatwork.ca. And second, don't let the simplicity of this trick you into thinking, it can't be powerful.
Very thoughtful. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it looks simple, but it's very powerful. Yeah. Very interesting. Where can people find you, Steve, if they want to connect with you? What's the easier way to connect with you?
Two ways. My website, gratitudeatwork.ca, or LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you'll find me, Steve Foran. And if you do Steve Foran Gratitude, you'll definitely find me. So happy to connect. And if I can do anything to serve you, happy to do that as well too. So thanks. Appreciate it.
I'm going to include a link, both LinkedIn and your website below the video as well. And I encourage business leaders to reach out to you, get a copy of that resources, and reach out to you for conversation. Thank you so much for your time, Steve. It was great the discussion. I enjoyed it, and definitely I learned so much from you.
I learned a lot from you, Gurmeet. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.